What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Align Team podcast. And today we have Chris Tarta, who officially merged the Move Group in with our organization. He's been a member of our downline here at EXP, has been a massive builder, sells a ton of properties throughout Bergen County, and we found a way that we could really align and kind of move mountains together. So I want to have him come on as a special guest and really kind of break down who is Chris Tarta? Where did he start? I know you like mobsters. I know you. I know you're in the restaurant business, but prior to that, I don't really know what Chris Tarta is about.
Who I am?
Yeah, who you are aside from being able to sell a lot of real estate and add a lot of value to clients and agents. So what's up?
Awesome. It's exciting to be here, man. It's exciting to be with Align. We merged about a couple weeks ago, and I'm here to tell my story. So I don't know where you want to start, Brett. Like, I can go way back, but I don't know if we have a time.
Well, let's go like high school, Chris. I mean, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Hawthorne.
Okay.
So all my life, I actually lived there until I was about 35, and went to high school at Don Bosco. I actually met Dave there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I started knowing Dave. And after high school, I made my attempt at college. Didn't go well, and I went to culinary school. So finished culinary school in 2 years. Left, worked at a restaurant, became the head chef, and actually found a way to buy that restaurant from my old boss, the owner.
Nice.
I cut a deal with him and took that over. And then I spent basically 20 years in the restaurant and food service industry. Hospitality really was what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy business to be in, right?
It's a blast, man. It's so much fun, man. Yeah. When everybody else is off, we work,
Yeah.
You're never home. And these are the stresses that brought me to real estate, right?
Yeah.
So like, life goes on, you get married, you start having kids. Restaurant demands a lot of time,
Yep.
a lot of effort, a lot of energy. Often you return home drained of all these things that
Yeah.
where you really want to spend your energy and your time and your focus with your family, with your kids, with your wife. So it was time for a change.
Yep.
Right. I had invested in real estate a little bit while I was in the restaurant business. And I remember selling a 2-family home that I have. And it was the first property I ever sold. I
Right.
just bought before that. And I said, shit, man. That's what I just paid this realtor.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm ready for a change. I felt like I was the last one at the party in my restaurants. I had 2 restaurants going at that time, literally running all the time, working Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas Eve, every major holiday. I was not with my family.
Yeah.
And it wasn't paying off in a way to make that worthwhile,
Right.
that absence worthwhile. So I made the change into real estate, and I did it slowly. I got my license while I owned my last restaurant. Started doing open houses on the weekends, joined a brokerage, joined a team, and that's how I made the transition.
Yeah.
And I finally got rid of the last restaurant, which took a long time to actually finalize
Like,
and
get
sell.
out.
Yeah, get out, completely be done with it. And I went full time.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to real estate. And I took the hospitality mindset of how I treated my clients. I knew everybody's name. I was just nice to everybody, and it made a point to connect with everybody. And that's how I apply to this business now.
Yeah. I love that. So you went from working 70 hours a week to working 90 hours a week as a realtor.
People think we don't work, man. People see us driving around all day and they think we're not working, right? And it's true, and it's not the same hours with holidays and stuff, but it's weekends, it's evenings, you got to go out, and we have to be available to our clients when they are available to us, which is outside of their work hours usually.
Yeah. And it's funny too. Like, I didn't realize how, prior to me having kids, which my oldest just turned 3. So prior to that, I had no clue why, like, how crazy the 5 to 7 o'clock was with little ones, with like bath time and dinner and all that stuff. And the reason why they were always like, let me call you at 8:30 once the kids are down, which creates that late night phone call. Now I'm doing that as well, where I'm like, don't bother me from 5 to 7. That is mayhem. Or I could be out on showings. That's totally fine. And then unfortunately my wife is dealing with it solo, but I do my best to be home during that. But yeah, that's, the kids into the mix and everything. It creates weird off hours. And when you're on vacation and whatnot, you're still dealing with it. So it is one of those, you are self-employed, but I have found, and I've done a lot of different things, that the world of real estate, being a real estate agent, if you do it in the right way, you can really live a prosperous life and have more freedom and whatnot, where you're still going to be checking in on vacation and stuff, but you can, again, through our systems, have the right person covering, talk to your clients before you leave and tell them, hey, so-and-so's got my back while I'm gone. I want to connect you with them on a text. But any issues, call me. Like, if it's a real fire drill, I'm still here. So,
and that's the key, right? we call life by strategy,
Right.
right? So if you can properly plan, and that's a big challenge in a realtor's life that I found, because in the beginning you're like, I'm available all the time, every day. Call me. You need to see a house at 11 p.m. If they'll let us in, I'm taking you, and you can design your business in real estate and
Right.
kind of work it around and into a schedule that works for you as well.
Right.
Yes, you have to be available, especially by phone sometimes. And I take calls on vacation. I take calls, but like you said, if there's support and there's resources, you can make those connections to get the relief for you a little bit here and
Right.
there. Um, that's the exciting part, though. I
Y-
don't mind those things.
Yeah.
Even when I'm on vacation, I get bored a little bit.
No, I'm the
So,
same. My wife, yeah.
and wait till you get to when your kids are older, and like tonight, we got 2 birthday parties, 5 o'clock. I'm going one way, my wife's going the other. We're picking up, and then there's sports. So it just gets more of a time consuming thing
Right.
with your children as they get older with their activities and social lives and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
So when you got into real estate, you made that leap. What, like what did your day typically look like, and how quickly did you find success as a realtor?
This is a wild story. So my day when I first got into real estate, the team I was working with was pretty heavy in like Edgewater.
Yep.
So I was living in Wyckoff. I would get up, I would go to Edgewater.
Yep.
I had to be there available when leads come in to show them rentals, to show them properties and stuff. So I would go there, meet doormen, go introduce myself, bring them chips and waters, and just try to make inroads,
Yep.
and making the network. And to be honest, my first year sucked.
Yeah.
Like there was a point in time when I was talking to my wife, and she's like, "Man, you just be a waiter, go back to the restaurant business, get a job as a chef again." I'm like, I can specifically remember a day. I don't remember what day, but I was like, forget it. I'm not listening to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, no opinions matter right now.
Yeah.
I am going to make this work. And I left that team, and I went to another brokerage, and I just started diving into things, making calls on my own. I had no idea about scripts. I had no idea about processes or systems. I was
Yeah.
just grinding, right? Just trying to find a way forward. I started getting a little bit of traction because usually I'm good with people. Like if I meet you and you want to see a home, like I could probably keep the relationship and do business with you.
Right.
Um, Join another team, which ended up being kind of a flop again, and I
Yeah.
was very frustrating. And I ran into Dave
Yeah.
out to dinner with my family one night, and that's when I came to Keller. I met you.
Yep.
I met Dave, and once I became coachable, got rid of some ego, got rid of some things that I believed I can do better.
Right.
My business exploded. It
Yeah.
took off, right? So it's about proximity again. That comes back to it. That's really the story. My first year was horrible. I think I made 29,000 bucks, and
Yeah.
I wasn't used to it. And I had a wife and kids. We had just moved to a nicer home. It was pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with Edgewater too, I mean that what brokerage was that? Just,
I was with Remax.
Okay.
The team, I called the agent that sold me my first house.
Yep.
And he said, "Come join the team. Blah, blah, I'll teach you everything." Didn't work out the way it was planned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that too is like you see a lot of folks within their experience or when they're getting the real estate license, that's how they go about it. That's they call somebody that they know,
Yeah.
around that. And we find that there's so many different experiences that you can get in the world of real estate. There's a lot of teams that do things really well and do things right. And then we see a lot of teams too, where I was actually talking to Henry Eisenstein yesterday on a podcast. It's somebody who is really good as a salesperson. Maybe they're okay as a small business owner as well, but it doesn't mean that they're good at the corporate scale and
Right.
and that they're good at actually like developing agents, or they have the time to develop agents. And I think that really for us is where we geek out. Like my whole system, and it's great that you and I are aligned on this. My whole system came from experiences that I personally had in the world of real estate, from being at different brokerages where the training just absolutely sucked. Like I came in 2007 at 21 years old out at Weichert and Randolph, and they were telling me to staple put business cards. It was right around Easter. Put business cards in Easter eggs and go to the Brundage Park and hand out your Easter eggs to kids.
That's your marketing
And I'm
plan.
like, it
Yeah.
sounds like pedophile stuff. This is
Yeah.
insane. And that was actually the message that they were giving me. So I was like, okay, this doesn't work. And I like completely went broke and had a 500 credit score from it.
Yeah.
So then I went to Gotham Realty in Hoboken. And that's where I met Dave, was in 2008, because mortgages had went down in the
It went
dumps. And
crazy.
he got his real estate license because the broker was recruiting him because he kept going in for mortgages. So that's where I met him, and we started to realize like, okay, this is a good way to make money. That we're doing a lot of rentals. But then from there, we realized that that leader didn't know how to get us above 100 grand a year
Right.
or above 120 grand a year. So we started to seek out, other options. And that's when Patrick Southern came about and Liberty Realty and the idea of Mike Ferry's coaching system. So that was 2009. And then that's when we started to really get like traction on the coaching. We learned about coaching and things started to work and we were prospecting. But then for us, we were like, okay, well, now why are we paying this company all this money? Because we kind of maximize the value
Right.
and we're third party on what we're running. So that's when we made the switch over to Keller Williams. And then the same thing, we were at Keller Williams and we are like, okay, well, I'm a member of the ALC. I'm their productivity coach. I have 13 people on my org and I'm looking at my cap model. I'm like, if everybody caps with what we're paying them, we pay Keller Williams $362,000 a year. Plus I'm running all of their trainings
Right.
for free. So I started to, again, take out a calculator and kind of figure out, am I getting value from that? And then, that's when we came over and I was on a team at the time and broke off and really just started creating the Sakura group around the idea of, let's make this all about agent experience, client experience. Like, let's make this all about a system that nobody can compete with.
Right.
And it took time. It's been taking years. We've been building and building and building it. And then finally, when I called you, I was like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's go. And I remember we brought on John and Meyer as our directors of growth, and Jen Schiff has been behind the scenes as the COO. And really, to your point of being coachable, I I like being around people that I like. It's really like my only superpower, and I can talk to them and shoot the shit and everything, and maybe I can motivate them a little bit and stuff like that. But I'm not as good at the nitty gritty component of like getting into like how that system works or anything. And all I do all day long is be coachable and listen to what other people are telling me to do. So like we're talking about the recruiting component and the trainings that we have around that. I just do what they're telling me to do.
Right.
I'm on a phone call with Jen Schiff for 45 minutes this morning. She's just telling me what to do. And I'm like, okay, 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 okay. And I think that's really what it takes to be a good agent or to be a good salesperson is dumbing down what you think, dumbing down the ego, and just understanding that somebody might have a good process out there. And if you just follow the process, if you just follow the system, it becomes idiot proof. You can't fail. Like to your point, I think you came over March 2nd, you've taken 3 listings. You have another one under contract already too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are the, is it 3 and
It's
1?
3 listings and a buyer I put yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. And we're mid-March shooting this too, which I don't
Right.
know, it won't get posted
It's
right
within
away,
2
but
weeks essentially.
yeah,
Yeah.
2 weeks and you're already, 3 listings and one under contract on the buy side. And you're putting your head down. You're just doing it. It's like you're just talking to people.
That's where it is, right? And I think you touched on a few things that are really super important because when I came over, I'll speak from my experience, I thought I had it figured out, right? Like I thought I could just sell,
Yeah.
right? I was like, no, this is going to be no problem. And then it grinds you down to realize, man, like this is not what you see on Bravo. This is not what you see here and there. And you have to come to a point. I think every agent needs to come to a point where it's like, all right, I'm going to be coachable. I'm going to
Yep.
actually just shut up and listen. I'm going to remove my ego, not think that I know how to do this because there are people now around me that have done what I want to do.
Yep.
So if I could just copy them in a somewhat of an intelligent way, kind of use my own talents with that
Yep.
coupled, you can crush this game. But you have to be coachable. You have to listen. You got to realize who you're around matters
Yeah.
a lot in this business. And until I found the people that resonated with me, it was a struggle.
Yeah.
The struggles change, right? Once you start doing more deals, then you have other things to worry about. If you don't have resources, if you don't have support staff, you now have a different set of worries. When you can plug into a system that's running and kind of push that off,
Yeah.
it really makes this business simple.
Yep.
Maybe not easy, but simple. And that was a struggle I was having with my team. I'm trying to build everything for agents around me and myself,
Yep.
but I'm still the top producer. My revenue, my personal revenue is running the team, and my time is growing shorter and shorter and shorter trying to build with everybody else.
Yep.
Very rewarding on a personal level, often not so much financially.
Yeah.
And it became a struggle. And that's when you called me, and it was weird because I was looking for a way forward at that point for like 2 or 3 months. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, am I just gonna be a solo agent? Am I just not gonna have the staff? Am I just not gonna have the overhead anymore?
Yeah.
How do I move forward here? And then, we kind of started talking, and you just do the math and you look at the growth trajectory and you see what you can leverage as an agent or a branch or area
Yeah.
leader and put a team together and really go after like massive numbers.
Yeah.
Like it's not, we're not playing for the crumbs, you
No, no,
know?
not at all.
Right. So like when you have that resource, those resources and that support behind you, you can floor it.
Yeah.
And that's all you got to do. Put
Yeah.
your head down and go.
Yeah, and it's like if something breaks, it's not gonna break a second time. And actually, I don't think you've broken any of our stuff yet, which is
No,
great.
man.
It's
But
great for,
like
but yeah.
I want to, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's,
exactly.
you know, that's what I want to do. Like I want to come here, break some shit and rebuild it better so we can grow. You
Yeah.
know, I think that's how it happens.
And I feel like that's the fun part too, is we get into the whole collaborative effect of like, what can we really do? Like my mission is obviously my big mission is look, I want to do 1 billion in every market that we're doing, you know, every county that we're doing, and we'll open individual markets as we scale from there. But I want to stay, you know, tight in that central northern Jersey. We spill over to PA. We do stuff in New York. We're in Chicago and one of the top teams in Chicago in a short amount of time. But with that, it's like how do we really like take over and absolutely dominate, which is fun because when I was throwing numbers out at you, you didn't even bat an eye. You're like, cool, let's do this. Like
I'm a,
I'm game. Let's do
yeah,
this. But what like really where we live, and it's what I touched on earlier, is that everything has to be an experience for the agent, and everything has
yeah.
to be an experience for the client. So like we really geek out on like those high level goals are fun. Um, and I like to know they exist. But where I really live is how is my process absolutely dynamite so that an agent comes into our organization that's already doing 10 million a year, comes through, it's of value, and it's crystal clear on how they're going to get to 22 million in the next 12 months. And we're trying it. I know
Right.
it's not perfect. It will be perfect, and it will get there. And I know that probably what we're doing right now is already light years ahead of what's available as far as our competition is concerned. But that's
Massive
it.
brokerages don't offer this.
No, it's yeah,
They don't.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny
With
when
the
like
worst comp plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, and when we get into like, I get into like the agent that wants like cheap or they want to run for that, and we go and start auditing their P&L, like we were talking about
Mm,
earlier. A lot of times we find that the profitability sucks.
yeah.
They're not even over 50% profitability. And we're saying, okay, you can come into our split. Let's say you come in at a 70-30, you're running on a 70% profit margin and everything's kind of taken care of. And then again, if the agent doesn't want to get into like the nitty gritty of the systems, like you add value to the systems, there's a lot of agents that are like, hey, let me hit the accelerator. I don't even give a shit to know how anything works.
Right.
I'll let you know if like something happened that was wrong or something like that. Um, but it's so dialed in, and that was our obviously boot camp. Everything is something we're actively working on to make the best possible. But transaction management and listing management, we spent a good probably 12 to 18 months fully stripping that system down, rebuilding and open to close. You just had your first deal go through it, and I'm interested to see like what the process or what your feedback is on it. But I'm pretty confident that you're going to live through it and be like, that's
It was
cool.
awesome.
That worked,
Yeah.
you know?
I am too. I'm confident, but I'm excited to put it in there because I was like, all right, man, let me load this information in here. I want to see how the automation works. I want to see how this gets walked through because that allows me to, you know, easily pile deal after deal after
Yep.
deal into the system and have the relief on my side that I don't have to worry.
Yep.
It's all being tracked. If I need something, it's here. The systems are there. The organization is there, which is what I lack as a realtor,
Yep.
you know, so that picks up my slack. And I think the other thing that you said that was important is if you talk to any realtor, especially a solo realtor, they don't know what their P&L is. And if you sit down with a spreadsheet or even a pen and paper, you're like, damn,
Yeah.
I made 300K or I made 500K, but really
Yeah.
I made 100.
Yeah.
But you're living you're going through, you're paying your bills. You're like, oh, here's another commission check. Here's another commission check. It's not what you look at. And if
Yep.
you do the math side by side about what expenses you really have,
Yep.
it can be shocking
Yeah.
when you're clear about it,
Yeah.
you know,
Eh,
especially if you're trying to buy leads, if you're trying to, you know, invest in different lead generation because you're not super successful on the phone, which is difficult to do anyway, you
Right.
know. So when you get into that stuff, there's a relief with the resources when you have something, an organization that gives you these things.
Right. Yeah. And I always tell people too, like well, actually to go back to the P&L component of it, just a simple way as a realtor an individual agent, go look at your 1099 that you got from your company, and then go look at your tax return and look at like your net
Yeah.
taxable amount. That's real. That's your
That's
P&L. That's a top line. That's whatever you're writing off means that that's what you invested in your business, and now you're only paying taxes on what's left. Um, but yeah, that's I forget where I was going with the second part of it. But yeah, that's like the meaningful purpose behind this, and
yeah,
that's why we're like, everything is like, let the agent focus on having those conversations with the client.
right.
Let them lean in on leadership if they have questions on how to convert the sale, if they have questions on this, that. I mean, even the did you see the Najar thing announced with the flood insurance this past week?
I saw something about it. I didn't dive into it, but I know that you have to disclose certain flood damages now and things like that. Yeah, it
Yeah,
just
so
changed.
so prior to that, there was a seller's disclosure. Like the seller could opt to not do a disclosure, which
Right,
was, it's not almost in Hudson County. That's almost all they do. With they never have seller's disclosures. But now, even if they opt out of that, it still is mandatory that on the seller's disclosure they have to fill out the flood part,
right,
which is interesting. I mean, but point being is, like, those little changes, you need to know it exists, you need to know it happened, but you don't need to build a system around it. I talked to JJ on our team yesterday. He's already built different automation around why it needs
right.
to happen. The only thing is, sellers disclosures are pain in the butt for sellers to fill out, and that is one thing where, like, we do need the agent help a little bit to be like, hey, if I need to sit down with you and get this filled out, or please take the time to fill it out. It's always the
Right.
last thing that the seller wants to do. They'll sign the agreement and then they get to that down the road. So the agents just need to be aware that that piece of the puzzle does need to be filled out on every
Mandatory.
transaction.
Yeah.
So, but that's the stuff we're watching that. You don't have to worry about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, and I mean, I don't know if you want to get into this too, but there's going to be all new paperwork now with the NAR settlement and things like that. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna understand the documents. I'm gonna explain it, be able to answer questions about it. But as far as the processes and the systems around these massive changes in our system, in our industry,
Yep.
it's not gonna affect me.
Right.
I'm gonna
Right.
deal with it and work with it. But the paperwork and the compliance stuff is all settled.
Yeah.
You know, it's a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah. And that too, actually, we can just roll right into that too. I'm fine. I'm fine just getting
Yeah,
into
let's
the,
go.
because
Yeah.
it's very relevant today, and a lot of agents are really concerned around the idea of, what's going to happen. And I literally was going to put on Facebook yesterday, I'm all NAR'd out,
Yeah.
but I was concerned that somebody might think I was talking about the NRA or something.
Oh
So
yeah. You get some political.
yeah, I don't need a political
Let's sprinkle
argument on my,
politics in
yeah.
there. Yeah.
So, but yeah, the idea behind that is, I think that I've always said these mega teams, the idea of mega teams are going to control and continue to merge together. And that's where a line was formed. But I'm talking to other heavy hitters that control a lot of inventory. And we're talking about, like, what is the alliance? What is the yacht club that's available? Because part of the NAR system is, or part of the NAR settlement is, they talk about the NAR, how they're tied to a lot of the MLSs in the country. It became mandatory that you had to use that MLS. It became mandatory that you had to join NAR if you were a part of that. And I think NAR does wonderful things. I
Yeah.
think I personally support the idea of them. I think that they could have done a little better in this scenario. Which, again, I'm fine pivoting whatever we need to do. We know how to survive.
Yeah.
We're
Who cares?
survivors,
Yeah.
so we'll be fine. If anybody has questions about it, come survive with us. We do a good job at it. We're always fighting.
Yeah.
But with that, if the idea of, like, we have to put listings on the MLS if it's signed agreements and stuff, if this litigation or this settlement devalues the need for that, or makes us not need to do that anymore, it becomes the Wild West, like New York
Yes.
City, which Hoboken, where I started with the rental market, everything was off market in 2008. So we operate well in the Wild West. And again, with those alliances, where you're seeing, like, these real estate teams that are selling 400, 500, 800 homes per year, we know that, okay, if we create our own yacht club, then we'll get more buyers coming to us because we have access to inventory for them. And right now, where we were talking with Jeff Bonk, for instance, we're in the process of building a whole off-market website
Right.
that will cross brands and everything like that and make that available. And then we also have EXP exclusives too, which we've been, really leaning in heavily on too. So when you're talking about value for the consumer to choose to use you on the buy side, what are you actually offering them from a value standpoint? Where if they sign an exclusive buyer agency agreement and they want to go see 3 homes, or they want to go see 10 homes, and 3 of them are paying out 0% commission, but they have to sign this to go see the other 7 too. And you have 5 other homes that are off market that they can't see if they don't sign this. You've just created value to
Yep.
that buyer versus what the typical realtor does. And that's what I always hated about my, or this world, I should say, is a lot of our competition sucks. They
Right.
go through the motions. Like I'll have buyers call me and they'll say, "Hey, I'm interested in seeing 123 Main Street, but I'm already working with another realtor." And I'll say, "Okay, great. Are they only showing you properties that are coming up on the MLS, or do they have like a backup plan to make sure that you don't have to deal with the bidding wars?"
Right.
The consumer then immediately is like, "What? They're only showing me." I say, "Okay, great. So you keep working with them on that side of things. I'm going to show you my listing right now, and then what I'm going to do is start showing you things that they can't show you."
Right.
And if that makes sense to you, maybe we'll work together, maybe we won't. And the odds are you might buy something that's on the MLS as well. But my goal is to make sure that you understand that you're not limited to only needing to buy those. And our prospecting based team is going to be kicking up things on your behalf day in and day out. Our boot camp, or we're calling it a reboot for next week, for instance, one of the things that we're going over for the agents coming into the organization is finding out specifically what somebody needs for like a hot and ready buyer in a specific neighborhood, building, whatever it may be. We'll pull the call list, scrub it with the do not call list, and then start prospecting based on what that buyer's needs are. And at the end of the day, like that person is not going to pass up on the opportunity to own a home that they want to buy off market without having to deal with a bidding war, or at least getting first looks at it, and then we'll list it if they don't want it. It's huge. I mean,
It's huge, you know, and to have that value for people, because you talk to a lot of buyers that I speak to don't know that that even exists.
right,
That there's a whole off-market thing. They can't go online, they can't search it on their phone. You have to come through somebody who has access to that,
right,
right? So that's where value is created, just like you said. And the buyers are going to be looking for more value now out of their agents,
yep,
which is fine. I think it's great. I think this is an opportunity for us, you know? And when you start getting into like building websites of things like that, other thoughts that I've had about it, we can create a value proposition that now not everybody gets.
yeah,
It's becomes that private yacht club. Hey, do you want, you know, like with the Board Ape NFTs, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know, everybody wanted one or whatever it was, you know.
yeah,
So we'll have that access to that, or we'll create that inventory actually.
yeah,
I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to a buyer and they're like, "No, I like this neighborhood." I'm like, "All right, cool. Give me a week.
yeah,
Call everybody.
yeah,
Hey, you know what? This person will consider a sale.
right,
This is the price. You want to see it? Sure. Boom. Done." Never, never hit the market,
yep,
never did anything. And that buyer is thrilled.
yeah,
Couldn't believe it, you
yeah.
know, and it's happened many times. And I don't think a lot of agents even consider that as a way forward for their buyers right now.
No, and they don't even, well, that's my whole thing too. They don't even know where to get the phone numbers, the data. They
Right.
don't even have dialer systems. They don't, like, they have nothing built out, and that's all taken care of, paid for within our
Yeah.
organization as well. So it's like, where do you want to call? And I always tell people, identify a ready, willing, and able buyer
Right.
that needs something specific, because if you're making the phone call to that seller to do an off-market transaction around that, the call is going to be received in a completely different way than, and I love Mike Ferry, but I'm doing a survey of all the for sale by owners in the
Right.
area, and I was calling to see if you were to sell, where would you go? And like, it's like, no, it's like, hey, I have a buyer that just lost out on a bidding war at 123 Main Street. I know you have a similar home. I know you're, right down the street at 127 Main Street. Long shot, but would you ever consider selling your home off market? And then they'll be like, yeah,
Yeah.
no,
That's it.
900 grand,
Yeah.
1.9. Like, just name a price. I'm just curious if you would. I mean, everybody will sell for the right number.
Right.
What's your number? And then a lot of times too, you'll see in that conversation, this is interesting, and this too is what we train on, but they'll throw out that 1.9 million, or they'll throw out that crazy make and move number. And then you go into, well, if you were to get that number, what's the plan?
Right.
And then that's when you really start peeling back the onion. And again, this is what we're training on. Like, so many people are so conversation, or sorry, so not conversational, and really just need like an instant result in that phone call, that they forget that there's a human on the other end of the phone, and that they would just listen. They're actually trying to tell you what they want to do, where they want to
Right.
go next. And those Mike Ferry scripts asks all those questions down there. It's just, we have a little bit of a less corny way to go about it. So
Yeah, you could cut through some of those scripts, get a talk track out of it. You get the basis of how the conversation goes, right? And
yeah,
then you ask, but like you said, yo, you'll sell? Great, awesome. We'll be by tomorrow. No, no, no. Slow down. Like, what happens now?
yeah,
This is a family, or this is a whatever their situation is. They have to make arrangements. Like, this is not
yeah,
simple. This is a multifaceted thing where now you have a person that'll sell, but are they homeless next? You know, like
yeah,
what's their plan? Are they gonna go, you know, like let's put this together, and your buyer has to be real. They
Yeah.
have to be serious. You can't show up and it's like a flake or like, I changed it, I canceled the appointment. Like to make these things, you have to have qualified clients.
There has to be the parlay, and they always need to know where they're going next, and
Yeah.
so many agents neglect that. Another thing too, like we were talking about when rates went up, and we have the ability to pull this data as well, is who owns free and clear?
Yeah.
Who's owned for 20 plus years? Odds are, if you're in Bergen County in Allendale or Wyckoff or whatever, and you own free and clear over $1 million, you probably have a Catskills house, or you probably have a shore house, or you probably have a house down in Naples. Like
Right.
there, statistically, there's like a likelihood there's a second home somewhere there, or they own free and clear and want to downsize to a townhome in Wayne because they don't need the school systems
Right.
anymore or something. Um, that to me is, if I were a realtor and I were prospecting and stuff and I was just circle dialing and whatnot, I would be going through free and clear lists, because that person doesn't give a damn what the rates are, and they've already capitalized on their equity in the home. It's probably a good time to trade, and they're going to go cash into the next property.
Yeah. This happened yesterday. The guy on the
Did
team. Yeah. Yeah. He's got an appointment on Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah. Free and clear. That's who he was calling.
yeah,
And like you said, they may have the second home, but they're wherever they are paying 20, 30,000 bucks in taxes, not taking advantage of the school system. And it gets exhausting. You know
yeah,
what I mean? At a certain point, you're done with that,
yeah,
but these opportunities are out there right now,
yeah.
but you got to find them.
And speaking of opportunities too, we always say to, I think at the time of this recording, we have 250,000 leads or something in our database, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think we have about 300 or 400 that come in every single week. And we always tell people, do not join us because of leads. Like, that is not why I want you at all. I want you to join us because of systems, coaching,
Right.
process. I want you to join us because you're a killer and you want to have conversations with people about adding value to their life, their wealth, their future, whatever it may be, and that you actually have integrity. But that saying, you've been on our Zillow Seller program, which we're only one of 5 in the state of New Jersey that has it. And you've already taken 2 listings from that program, I think, out of 5 leads that have come through. So
Yeah.
what is now you've dealt with a lot of leads before. What is your experience with that? Like, how does it feel so far?
With that specific program.
Yeah.
So I got 5 of them, I think. I've signed 2 and I'm going to another one today. They're 6 months out. I'm confident I'll sign most of them ones, over time.
Yeah.
One I lost on. But that program, these people are reaching out, in my opinion, ready, as ready as you can be, even
Yeah.
someone with a timeline. Like the lady I'm meeting today said, my husband's retiring. It's going to be 6 months. I said, great. I'm coming to meet you. I want to see the house. I'm going to keep you informed every day for the next 6 months until you're ready to list.
Yep.
She texted me this morning before I confirmed. I can't wait to meet you later.
Yep.
Like, we're getting connected with people with real motivation for whatever the situation is. I don't know what it looks like, how they're generating that on the Zillow side, but I don't care.
Yeah.
The call comes in, I get a live connection, and that's where you have to know what to ask and what the conversation should be based on what they're saying, their personality, and you want to understand what their situation is. The 2 that I signed already, they were ready to go on the first call.
Right.
They were, I brought the paperwork with me to the meeting. We signed it and I left, and one's live. I want to be live next week.
Yep.
This is a seller program unlike any I've seen before, because these people have decided they're selling.
Right.
It's our job to make sure it's with us.
Yep.
And that's it. And that's where the agents, talent, skills, discipline, whatever, come into play. But the connections are live and they're hot. So it's
Yeah.
a great program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we've seen a lot of success with it so far. And the idea behind it, which is really cool, is the more success you have, the more Zillow will feed you.
Right.
So if we bring more agents into the organization that want seller leads, which nobody has, I mean, HomeLight does a good job too. We actually have some decent HomeLight seller leads too. But I'd say aside from the 2 of them, nobody's really doing it. And we crack the code with HomeLight too, because of how many homes we sell. HomeLight just hammers us with stuff to try to keep us happy, because they know we're going to go in and we have the systems to convert it. But yeah, I feel like what we're seeing in the market with the mega teams and things getting bigger and whatnot, and the fact that only 5 organizations in New Jersey even have the Zillow Seller program, that, if you're a smaller team, if you're an individual agent and you want to get a taste of them, it's never going to be an opportunity. Like, Zillow doesn't intend to add more people to the program. They actually intend to thin it out and have to manage less teams and want to be with teams that can really scale behind their systems. So, and we saw it happen with Flex. Everybody got onto Flex in the beginning, not everybody, but a decent amount. And then they went through and they went into disengagement, and then they, completely got rid of that. And we still, we hammer sphere of influence because at the end of the day, if we're selling 400, 500 homes, 45% is still sphere of
Yeah.
influence. So like we still hit that hard. Our Zillow number is only about 17%. We try to keep that kind of where it is as well. Um, but with that, with Flex in the whole tri-state area, we're number two for conversion for the amount of leads that we receive on the buy side. So that too is a testament to not only have we made it through all the cuts with Flex, we were handpicked for the Zillow Seller program, and then we're still converting at a super high level and nowhere near disengagement to the point where, Omar and I sit through these masterminds and stuff, and we're just like, yeah, we're doing that, doing that, doing that, doing that.
Yeah.
Like we could run the mastermind, we could run the playbook on it, and that too, as an agent or as a team leader, it's like, get in, bring your people into our program. If they qualify for those programs, you don't even have to worry about training. We know how to actually run that system. And that goes back to the corporate component where it's like, there are people that are insanely good at what they do, watching certain levers and whatnot. I think there's 19 US based leaders or staff in our organization at this point, and they're making sure that everything moves in the best way possible. And it's their job to go in and make little tweaks and stuff like that. And that's really what we're all about. And I know that you're going to do amazing things, for the Bergen County slice of the pie that we're doing kind of all over. But we're super grateful to have you, man. I appreciate you being a part of the family.
I'm excited to be here, man. Just
Yeah.
the energy and being around people that have this mindset of a direction and goals that are big, which
Yep.
is exciting, is really what pushes me.
Yeah.
When I'm kind of out there and I have my own goals, I prefer the energy to be around other people. It helps me produce more. So I'm getting that so far, and it's real excited to be here, man.
Love it, man.
Excited.
So if somebody want to get in touch with you, want to see how to get, come into our family, kind of experience what you're experiencing, what's a good way?
You can message me on Instagram. You can message me on Facebook. You can find me there all the time at Chris Tarta. You can look me up, man, on Zillow. You'll find my cell phone.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I
Awesome.
appreciate you coming
Thank
on.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.